Hello, let's have some more fun in the kitchen, okay, guys? So tonight we are gonna make some fermented veggies, and I was craving tacos, and on my tacos, I love pickled onions. I don't know about you, and I don't know if you've ever had them, but super easy to make. A quick pickled onion is where you take an onion, you slice it up, and you add, you pour vinegar over the top of it, put it in your fridge for an hour, and now you've got a quick pickled onion, which is really healthy for you. But it is very different than a fermented onion or a fermented veggie. The pickled veggies do not have probiotics in them like the fermented ones. So I thought, you know what? I would like to see if there's a real difference in flavor in a fermented onion versus a pickled onion, and which then inspired me to ferment a few more veggies. I do like pickled radishes, so we're gonna see what the fermented radish tastes like as well. Both of those on my tacos I think are absolutely delicious, but other ways to use the at least the pickled onion and hopefully the fermented onion on your sandwiches, in your salads. At least the pickled, they definitely add this punch of flavor, and I'm thinking that the fermented is gonna have a little bit of a different flavor, probably a saltier flavor because we do ferment it in a salt brine. And you're sitting there going, okay, like what is the difference between pickled and fermented, and why wouldn't you just pickle them? Well, you can definitely do that. And there are nutritional values. I mean, vinegar is good for you, and obviously onions are good for you. But when you pickle it, it doesn't have the probiotic amount that you would get in a fermented veggies. And so probiotics, let's talk a little bit about that. So probiotics are really good for you. Any fermented food is going to have a probiotic in it. So think about, somebody was asking actually why the beet kvass is good for you. Well, beet kvass is high in probiotics. That's, we've fermented those beets, and that liquid now is full of probiotics. Now, probiotics are really good. They help with your digestion, your immune function, and even your mental health through the gut-brain axis. And if you want to learn more about that, I would highly recommend you read a book called Brain Maker by David Perlmutter, but you could probably just Google like gut-brain axis, fermented foods. I'm sure you'll find all kinds of articles on that. It's really, I think it's very, very interesting how your gut is helping you produce serotonin and other chemicals that keep your body and brain very happy. At any rate, so the probiotics really increase the nutrient availability of food. So, like this is high in vitamin A, and that's going to make that those vitamin A more nutrient available. There's also a high degree of enzymes now. When you ferment the veggies, the veggies have enzymes on their own, but now you ferment them and you're increasing that enzymatic activity. I want you to think about, now this is a little bit different, but I don't know if you've spent some time in Europe or other countries where at the end of the meal, they offer you a digestif, which is usually fermented herbs, but they've been fermented to the point that now they're alcoholic. However, they really do help you digest your food. I can say that with experience. At any rate, so having a little bit of fermented food with every meal, particularly when you're eating things that are hard to digest like steak, can be really, really helpful. So the probiotics also in fermented foods help your body produce B vitamins and short chain fatty acids. So both of those things also very good for your health in general. So we like to call the microbiome in our house your happy bugs. So, you're kind of not just what you eat and digest, but what your microbiome is digesting, and how you absorb nutrients has a lot to do with the health of your microbiome. So we want to keep that really, really happy. And the way to do that is to give them a lot of fiber and a lot more, continue to give them the probiotics from different probiotics are going to be present in different veggies too. That's what's super fun. So let's see what we are going to do tonight. I am going to cut these veggies up, and I want to make matchsticks out of the radishes. I'm going to make coins out of the carrots, and then these are just going to be like nice slivers. Something, again, you may or may not know how you're going to use them. You can also cut everything into matchsticks and mix them all in one and just have, this big melange of vegetables. I've done that before. It is very good, but I kind of wanted to keep them separate this time to see how they taste individually on their own and how I might mix them with different dishes. So, for instance, I mean, again, I love these with tacos, and I'm hoping the fermented is going to be just as good. And then different, depending on the flavor this time around, I may add different spices to the ferment. So they had recommended like pepper with pretty much every single one of them, some of them with garlic, and some of them like this one with a carrot with ginger, I thought was very interesting. But I thought, no, I just want to try it on its own, just with the pepper. So we're going to see how that tastes. And then the other thing I learned in researching this episode I thought was so cool. So I have some bay leaves here, and apparently bay leaves are very high in tannin. I don't know if you've ever heard about tannins in terms of black tea. So, and they did recommend you could use black tea. The tannins, when you put, and they just said 1 leaf in here. So when you put a little bit of tannins in each jar or in each ferment, it helps the vegetable maintain its crispiness. Now, I like that chemistry is way above my pay grade. I do not understand it, but I do understand how to experiment. So I'm going to experiment with 1 bay leaf in each jar and see if they're any crispier than the last time I remember making a ferment, and things were they were kind of smushy. They weren't horrible, but they were kind of smushy. So, we're going to see. The other tannin things they recommended, you could use a little bit of horseradish. So like a 1/2 inch of horseradish root could go in each one, or horseradish leaf or grape leaf. All of those had tannins, not all at once, and you definitely didn't need much. Like I said, they said 1 bay leaf. So I'll just put 1 bay leaf in there. I'm gonna put about a teaspoon or a little bit more of pepper, we're gonna see. Then I'm gonna put my chopped veggies in here, and then I'm gonna pour my brine over that. And let's talk about the brine. So the brine is just a 2.5% salt solution. So that means basically I have 1,000 grams of water, which is a liter of water, and to that I added 25 grams of salt. So now I've got a 2.5% solution. Now I think 25 grams of salt is around 1.5 teaspoons. I'll measure that out exactly and I'll put it in the notes, so you can do that, plus like around 4 cups of water. So the salinity they recommended, anything like had to be above 2% and below 3.5%, with 2.5% kind of being the sweet spot. So anything that was below 2% would have more harmful bacteria. It wouldn't kill off any of the harmful bacteria, and anything above 3.5% would be killing off all the good bacteria. So you want to keep it in that window so that the good bacteria is thriving and the bad bacteria is not. So that is what we're going to do with the water. I don't know if I talked about this, but I'm going to chop like my radishes into matchsticks, these into coins, and these into slivers. I think I did say that. But what I want to do is make sure everything is really even. So I'm going to use a mandolin. One, it's going to make the chopping go a lot quicker. If you don't have a mandolin, that's okay. You just want to chop these in a manner which, one, you can kind of use on your food at the end, at the end of the day. Like I want these on tacos, so I want them to be able to, quickly put them, they want to fit in that taco shell. So I need it, to be mindful of that size. But then also I want all my slices or whatever pieces I do, I want them to be uniform. So whether I, slice these in 2-inch or 1/8-inch slices, I want them to be uniform so that they all ferment at the same time. You can imagine something sliced at 1/8 of an inch is going to ferment a lot more quickly than something sliced at 2 inches. So kind of looking at that density of the food is going to change that. So we want to keep everything pretty uniformly sliced. Not perfectly, right? We're not perfect, but we're going to keep it uniformly sliced. So if you don't have a mandolin, no big deal. It may take you a little longer, but I would encourage you to just get into it, meditate while you're chopping, enjoy your veggies. So that is what we're going to do. One last thing, it's debatable whether you can use carrot greens. Some people say you can, some people say you can't. I don't really know. err on the side of caution and I don't use the greens from my carrots. But you for sure can use the greens from your radishes, and you can make pesto with it. It has kind of a spicy flavor, or you can just, I would recommend freezing it off, and you can use it with your other greens when you cook up your other greens in the morning, because I know you guys are all making the greens latte. Maybe you aren't, but maybe you will, and you could add that. Or you can just, saute them up with some eggs and some mushrooms. That's also really good. Just make sure with your greens, especially with radishes, like I can see here, there's a lot of sand. They tend to grow them in like a sandy soil. So you really want to wash them to get all that sand off of them. Okay, so I don't think you need to watch me chop vegetables. So we will meet back here with everything chopped, and then we'll fill the jars together. Okay, so everything is chopped. I did not get out unscathed. My mandolin is a little old. Just note to any users out there, when your mandolin kind of gets harder to push things through, it's probably time to replace it. So I need to do that. Anyway, it is what it is, right? Living life on the edge, quite literally. So everything has been chopped, and we are just gonna fill these jars with first our aromatics. So I'm gonna put the pepper in here, and I'm gonna put 1 bay leaf in each, put the stuff in here, and then we're just gonna fill to the top with, let's see, it's almost, we'll do a few more. We'll fill to the top with the brine. I did make another liter of brine and measure. It turned out 25 grams of salt was 3 teaspoons. So if you didn't have a scale, you would use 1 liter of water and about 3 teaspoons of salt. So, and I'm going to use, for now, I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of pepper in each of these. So I've got 1 bay leaf and 2 teaspoons of pepper for now. We'll see what it looks like once I pack them. Obviously, I'm probably going to have some onions left over. And I thought, well, that'll be fun because I will just pickle the leftovers. And then I can have kind of a side-by-side taste comparison as to which one I like better, or, just the different flavor profiles. Sometimes we like things equally, right? So, okay, at any rate, so we're just gonna stuff these guys all in there. And there is something you can get called fermentation weights. There are these little glass discs that sit on the top of your veggies, and I will definitely have to get some, right? Tonight I'm gonna improvise, because I don't have any. But you wanna make sure your veggies stay submerged in the liquid, and they are going to soften even with that bay leaf in there. I'd imagine they're going to soften a little bit, so you know that weight kind of keeps them nice and below the brine. So let's see how much this is going to use. This will probably take up quite a bit. Yeah, so that used like a half a liter right there. And so I don't have any weights, but I am going to use this. Actually, I'm going to put a few more in here and a little bit more. You can see how you can kind of smush them down. And so having that weight can smush it so that they have to stay submerged in that brine. So I'm just going to like fill this to the very brim, which may not be good. Maybe you're supposed to leave a little room for gas at the top. I'm not sure. I guess we're going to find out, isn't it? It's always an experiment in this kitchen, but that's why I like cooking, because it's just kind of, I don't have to, I don't know, I find it a place where I can just kind of be and experiment and, see what the world does. Anyway, I'm just going to make a mess here, but maybe we'll pour a little out. I'm going to pour this out, excuse me. So I'm just going to push this on here so that it'll keep it below the brine, using kind of just more compression, not so much weight. And then we're going to cover that up. And then I'm going to pull, this has these things that pulls the air off the top, which I do think is important when you're fermenting the veggies. So I just pulled a little bit of air out to the point that now there's like the brine has come off the top. I'm going to pour that off. There we go. So I've got you can kind of see my pickles submerged below the brine. And so we are going to see what happens in about 5 days. I do sort of wish maybe if I had to do it over again, I would probably shake those pepper bits around a little bit more. So we'll see if we can do that with the carrots. I don't know if the carrots are even going to fill. Oh, they are so messy. I should probably use maybe some sort of improvised funnel, but anyway, we'll get through it. And now my kitty is, I don't know if you can hear him, but he is telling me that it's dinner time. It's cute. It's really cute. They definitely keep me on a schedule, right? Oh, I only have one kitty, and it's actually my son's, but anyway. Okay, so I'm excited about the carrots. Oh, I didn't shake around the pepper. I'm going to put a little more pepper on top, actually. That'll be kind of fun. But that bay leaf is in there. It'll be fun to see if they move around at all, too. There's that. I'll just try to pick up all these little bits. Oh, we'll feed you later, kitty. He's expressing his displeasure. I don't know how many of you out there have cats, but mine seems to be hungry and express his displeasure at all times. Anyway, he's a good cat. His name is Glenn Danzig, by the way. My son named him that after a guy from the Misfits. So anyway, I don't know if I probably just need to get a weight for this, but hopefully that might kind of work. I don't think I really need to do like a compression. I think that's actually going to just in general work. We'll see. We'll see. And I should probably fill it to the top with the salt. I don't know, but I'm going to do that and pull some air off the top. That'll be okay. I didn't put any pepper around, but anyway, so this pulls the air out. And again, these lids allow the gas to escape and no air to get in, which is kind of nice. You know, because pressure can build up when you're fermenting things. It'd be fun to get these peppers kind of around, but anyway, I think they'll still have some great flavor. And these are the radishes, which I used the mandolin I used the mandolin when I cut these, and you know, of course, about halfway through, I knew it was going to happen. I cut my finger, you know, but whatever. We got to live life on the edge, don't we? Okay, stuff these down, and these are like the onions and the radishes are my absolute favorite. The carrots are just kind of going along for the ride. I sent my son to the store because I needed 2 carrots for, I can't remember what the recipe was, but I needed 2 carrots, and he came back and he's like, well, I thought you needed 2 bunches. So I had 2 huge bunches of carrots. And I thought, well, I might as well pickle them up because I'm not going to use them anytime soon. So anyway, you gotta love your teenagers, right? They are the best, actually. It's the best phase. Okay, so I'm gonna push these down a little bit more. Let's see. So again, it was 3 teaspoons of Himalayan sea salt to 1 liter of water. That was basically 25 grams to 1,000 grams. Okay. Again, I'll put a few more in there, and then I'm gonna use kind of the compression idea with this. Again, it's gonna make a big mess. My sink is over there, so that's what we're doing. Okay, and then we're just gonna push this on there. I will probably get some fermentation weights in the next few days here, and so I might just open it up and put those on. You can open these up, by the way. It's not as if, you know, they have to stay closed up. We're not canning them or anything like that. So you can open them up and taste them, you know, on a daily basis and see what you think. Okay, so the liquid has come out there. Okay, so, and then the rest of these, I am actually gonna pickle. I don't have any vinegar right. Actually, no, I do. But I'll just store them in a little bit of vinegar in a dish. Actually, we can do that together. Why don't we? Let's do that. So I just use this little thing, and Usually I use a apple cider vinegar when I pickle my onions, but I don't have any. I do have a rice wine vinegar, which actually is really, really nice. It has kind of a more mellow flavor. But the reason I like that apple cider vinegar is I always get it with the mother in there. So I feel like, well, maybe there's some probiotics in there. I'm not sure. But anyway, this will still be good. And like I said, they are so good on tacos, but I also just love them on sandwiches and, gosh, all kinds of stuff in my salads, just topping a dish. They just add that like kind of just weird little extra, what would you say, like a sassy little punch to it. Okay, let's get some vinegar. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. And we'll have to check in a few days. I think it's like 5 days, and see how they're going. So again, you just pour the vinegar over until it's covered them completely. And that is how you quick pickle. So these will be ready in an hour, and these will be ready in about 7 to 10 days. But again, checking them in 5 days. I'd imagine like these are kind of cut, both of these are cut pretty thin, and I have a feeling they're gonna be ready in less than 7 days. But anyway, so that, and these can just stay, the pickled onions can stay in your fridge. I mean, I've had some in there for, gosh, months and months. So I don't know, I'm sure there's probably some official, you know, safety limit on them, but I don't know, I would just keep watching them. So that will be my quick pickle. Those will be ready in an hour, and these will be ready in anywhere between 5 and 10 days. So we will check back in 5 to 10 days and see how they taste and how they're coming along. I'm most excited to see if they're any crunchier than what I remember. Okay, so that is how you, lots of nice bubbles happening on my ferments. I'm very happy. Lots of bubbles. When you put these on your counter or wherever you're gonna ferment them, I'm gonna recommend you put something underneath them. I noticed I had a bunch of salt water underneath, so gotta not do that next time. Hi, you guys. Okay, so now it has been 1 week and we're gonna see how we did. So these guys have been in here for a week as well. I've actually used them on some fish tacos earlier this week, but I wanna see how these turned out. I'm super excited to see if they are any crispier or crunchier than the last time I made them several years ago. But let's see here and just make sure there's no odd smells, which kind of reminds me of a funny story. Here, let me just check that. I never did get the fermentation weights because these just kind of settled down really nicely. So if you have something to weight it down, I know that some people take like a cabbage leaf and like smush it in there. You could do the same thing like if you did have a grape leaf. So that would be like kind of 2 for 1. It'd have the tannins, and you kind of like pour it, kind of smush it down over the stuff and kind of keep it down and underneath the liquids. So that would work as well. But I will put a link in the show notes to a fermentation weight. But let's just make sure. Yeah, that smell. Oh, yeah, this all smell really good. So, I mean, you just, you know, they smell the way they smell, but if they were bad, they would, you know, you would smell something. In smelling the onions, though, it does remind me of something that happened. So when you have this lid on here, of course, there's, you know, a gas kind of escaping out of it. And I noticed my house smelling very oniony. And so I opened my little kitchen window and I set it right next to the kitchen window, and that seemed to take care of it. But with my little house, it was a bit much, which reminded me also of a time when I tried to make kimchi, or I did make kimchi, and it did turn out really, really good. However, lesson learned, I don't know if any of you have made kimchi, but there's a reason when they make kimchi that they bury it in the backyard. So it stinks up the whole house, and it stunk up my house for weeks. I mean, even after we had fermented it and put it in the fridge, it was awful. So I do not recommend that you just make that at home and in your kitchen. I highly recommend that if you have a backyard, you bury it in the backyard, or maybe you have a back, you know, shed or something like that. So, okay, well, let's give these a taste, huh? I actually am really curious to see what the taste difference is between these two. So I'm just going to try one onion next to the other here. First of all, that's got a lot of crunch to it. So that tannins really worked. Now, so that just tastes like oniony and salty and crispy. And these I know just taste like vinegary. The pickled onions will just take on the flavor of the vinegar that you put in there. Whereas this really tastes like an onion. That's very, very good. I'm curious to try the carrots. Okay, that is very, very good. I do think garlic or dill in there would be very good, or ginger. I'm excited to mix that with different things. Let's try the radishes. I have to say my onions are the favorite. The radishes are good. It's okay. The carrots and the onions are absolutely my favorite. So let's talk about how could you use these, right? Because it's all fun and games to make this stuff, but what would be the best way to use it? So like I said, these are great on salads and on your sandwiches if you do that. You just add that kind of punch of vinegary flavor. You could put it over a soup too as well. And on charcuterie, same thing here. All of these things could go over charcuterie, but I would highly recommend both of these. I think this is going to be really good in soups and salads and kind of mixed in with things. It has a unique flavor, but I'm not quite sure how I would use it. Maybe on top of deviled eggs or over scrambled eggs. Actually, that would probably be really good on eggs. All of these would be, but this would be really good on eggs. I also think, I don't know if you have ever made ricotta, or you can buy ricotta or chèvre, that kind of a soft spreadable cheese on a cracker. So I've got some, what are these flax crackers? Mary's Gone crackers or something like that, which is one of the packaged foods that actually I feel is like actually really healthy. So you can spread some chèvre on there and then put some of these different things over it. And I think it would be really good. I'm not going to eat it in front of you because, whatever. But I think, something like that, or you put it like if you were to make a charcuterie board for people, I think that it would just be a nice little addition to put on a charcuterie board. Yeah, and again, the radishes they're an interesting flavor. I don't think they're so great with cheese. I'm just going to set it here, but I do think they would be excellent with eggs. So you have to just try it and make it yourself. I'm excited to put these on my tacos and actually eat these too. But so yeah, in salads, say you make a bowl, like, I know those are kind of like really popular, like kind of people making these, a burrito bowl or a Buddha bowl or something to that effect. All of these would be really good. And again, according to the nutritionist I spoke with, it was like a tablespoon of fermented foods at each meal. Well, these are so good. It'll be really easy to eat way more than a tablespoon. And I think it's going to be really helpful for your digestion. So now we've got all these happy bugs. So now you're thinking, okay, well, what do I do next? So I'm going to put a classic lid on these things. Like this. So this is the typical mason jar lid, and I'm going to put them in my fridge. And I was doing some research to find out exactly how long they will last in my fridge. So far, I haven't gotten any one strong answer. So let me do a little bit more research, and then I will put it in the show notes. But I would imagine several months. I know that I have had these in my fridge for like easily 6 months. So not this exact batch, but I have done it in the past before. Just because of the vinegar, they're hanging out, they're having a good time. I think the trick is to just watch them and just make sure there's no, molds growing on top, anything like that. So you just have to kind of watch in your refrigerator and see how it goes. But I am very, very pleased with the way this came out. And I do hope that you're inspired to make something like this. Again, these probiotics, the happy bugs are so good for you. And, just more probiotics, more happier guts means happier brains. And, you know, happier people and happier societies. So anyway, that's my little take, you know. Thank you so much for joining me on this kitchen adventure, and onward and upward. Here we go.